This morning, this day, this life, all is for joy when we open our eyes to see all that is good and beautiful and promising around us, when we open our ears to the bird song, the child song, our own song, when we open our hearts to others, to ourselves, and to loving others as we love ourselves, then life, for all of its changes and challenges, becomes an adventure into which we should enter singing and rejoicing, come what may. Welcome to our worship. It's just a small section. I had to give it a title, so I gave the title, Ghetto Life. But as you can see, it got lost in translation into Ghetto Life. But you can see how that would happen. I'm going to assume that the person who took this down couldn't translate a Southern accent. That's what I'm guessing. So from Anna Quindlan, and she's speaking to the graduates of this university. So here's what I want to tell you today. Get a life. A real life, not a manic pursuit of the next promotion, the bigger paycheck, the larger house. Do you think you'd care very much about these things if you blew an aneurysm one afternoon or found a lump in your breast? Get a life in which you notice the smell of salt water pushing itself on a breeze over seaside heights. A life in which you stop and watch how a red-tailed hawk circles over the water gap, or the way a baby scowls with concentration when she tries to pick up a Cheerio with her thumb and first finger. Get a life in which you're not alone. Find people you love and who love you. And remember that love is not leisure, it's work. Remember that you're still learning how to best treasure your connection with others. Pick up the phone, send an email, write a letter. It really is a pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you for inviting me. I'm not a fan of Rudy Giuliani. 9/11 threw a cloak of amnesia over what he did to New York City before the day of infamy made him famous. We forget that he decimated the public school system by promoting vouchers for private schools. We forget that he defended police misconduct, brutality, and violations of civil rights. We forget that he targeted the poor and the homeless of New York by authorizing police sweeps of parks, streets, and other public places to arrest homeless people and cart them off to overcrowded shelters outside of town so that tourists in Times Square would not have to endure the eyesores of people begging for money and sleeping on sidewalks. At the same time, he cut the budget for housing for the homeless by 3/4. Rudy claimed to have gotten rid of homelessness, but all he really did was get rid of the homeless. Despite all this, I couldn't help but have my picture taken with Rudy when I ran into him in downtown Columbia, South Carolina, where I served my last congregation. He was in town for a big motivational seminar with other motivational speakers like Susie Orman and Zig Ziglar. Now, how could you not get motivated by hearing a name like Zig Ziglar? Here's one of Zig's catchy phrases, quote, "It's your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude." Isn't that snazzy? 11,000 people poured into the Colonial Life arena for the Get Motivated seminar to hear platitudes like that and words like leadership, empowerment, succeed, achieve, motivate, and phrases like think big, think positive, think outside the box, push the envelope, keep your eye on the prize, don't sweat the small stuff, ask, believe, and receive, and claim it and name it. Part pep rally, part infomercial, part tent revival. Zig Ziglar was, after all, once the vice president of the Southern Baptist Convention. The crowd listened for 8 hours to a slate of motivational speakers telling them how to make money, advance their careers, invest in stocks, sell real estate, lose weight, balance their hormones, conquer their fears, improve their sex lives, and find God. When posing for my picture with Rudy, he asked me if I was planning to go hear him at the motivational seminar. Nah, I replied, I think I'm motivated enough. The truth is, I've never really had much respect for motivational speakers. They've always impressed me as being overpaid salesmen who sell overpriced manure. Maybe I'm just envious of them because they figured out a way to get paid so much for saying so little and doing even less. Or maybe I'm too much of a Marxist. I had this habit in politics and religion and motivational seminars of wanting to follow the money trail. I want to know who's paying and who's profiting and how much. For instance, at the Get Motivated seminar, every participant paid a minimum of $19 just to enter the arena. With 11,000 attendees, that means that Rudy, Susie, Zig, and friends made a minimum of $209,000 for speaking for less than an hour each. But wait, there's more. The real money is not in selling tickets, it's selling CDs, books, and classes. For example, Phil Town finished his motivational speak about buying stocks by inviting participants to his table to pay $99 to register for one of his classes. Little did participants know that they were getting motivated to go to the poorhouse. I'm probably being too hard on motivational speakers. The fact is that a positive outlook and motivation are keys to successful outcomes. We psychologists have been talking about this for a long time, only we call it self-fulfilling prophecy. For example, if a basketball player thinks, I can't make this shot, I play for the Philadelphia 76ers, and we're not supposed to win. The other teams are bigger and faster and better than we are. Well, if a player thinks these kinds of thoughts, then he is less likely to make his shot. So our perceptions of reality can help shape reality. Or to be more accurate, our perceptions of reality shape our behaviors, which can shape reality. But most motivational speakers go a lot further than this. They promise something for nothing. They imply that a positive outlook and motivation are all you need. They imply that you can be successful with inspiration, but without perspiration. The truth is that positive thoughts and an optimistic outlook can lead to desired outcomes if they lead to effort. But then who wants to sweat? Who wouldn't want to get rich quick if you could, by doing so with the power of positive thinking instead of the sweat of your brow? Or who wouldn't want to lose weight by imagining yourself as being skinny instead of eating less and exercising more? Motivational speakers stand in the long American tradition of self-help. Millions of Americans buy some kind of self-help book each year. There are more than 20,000 self-help books alone listed on Amazon. The self-help industry has made celebrities of self-help gurus like Tony Robbins, Dr. Phil, Dr. Laura, Mitch Albom, and Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer alone wrote 29 self-help books with sales estimated over $50 million. Says Sarah Nelson, editor of Publishers Weekly, nobody ever went broke overestimating the desperate unhappiness of the American people. The self-help industry stands in two American traditions that go, I think, to the core of the American psyche. One is the tradition of starting over. The discovery of America by Columbus permitted white Europeans to have a fresh start, to come to this new world, as our continent was called, and to leave behind the sins, corruption, injustices, poverty, traditions and conventions of the old world. And this fresh start was supported by European religion, specifically the biblical myth of the new Garden of Eden, a new Israel, a new promised land. And then once the east coast of this new world was settled, later generations could have a fresh start by heading west. And our American heroes were people who had the courage to break from the past and strike out on their own. Pioneers like Daniel Boone, Kit Carson, Mike Fink, Calamity Jane, and Buffalo Bill. In the 1830s, the French visitor Alex de Tocqueville observed that, quote, Americans, upon building a house in which one naturally expects them to live and enjoy, no sooner get the roof on it than they put it up for sale and are off to some new place. 1830s. Henry Ford's assembly line and Eisenhower's interstate highway system definitely made us a nation on the move, and the information highway has accelerated this movement. Now, the problem with all this mobility is that we don't stay put in one place long enough to put down roots, form relationships, and establish community. And for this reason, our American tradition of starting over has not served us well. In fact, it's probably made us the loneliest, most isolated, and most depressed society in history. The self-help movement is the latest incarnation of this tradition, in that it promises that you can have a fresh start without ever leaving home. And the second great American tradition is the myth of progress, the belief that every day and every way things are getting better and better. Again, de Tocqueville observed back in the 1830s, quote, the American has no time to tie himself to anything. He grows accustomed only to change and ends by regarding it as the natural state of man. He feels the need of it. More, he loves it. Again, this is back in the 1830s. In America, products are not made to last. They're made to replace existing products. Products don't sell unless they're new and improved. Unlike in Europe, where old buildings are preserved and honored, here old buildings are torn down to make way for new ones. We live in a disposable culture. This year's fashion is next year's antique. We treat our clothes this way, and we treat our politics this way. No politician could get elected unless he or she promised a new vision, new ideas, and a new day. When President Obama promised change, he did what every successful American politician has done, from FDR, who promised a New Deal, to Kennedy with his New Frontier, and to Clinton and his New Covenant. The American faith in change has no doubt been fueled by our uniquely American evangelical born-again religion, which promises that if you just have faith, your sins will be washed away, the slate will be wiped clean, and you can leave your past behind and become a new person. Now, the downside to the great American myth of progress is that when we sever our roots and forget our past, we don't know who we are. And if you don't know who you are, you end up letting other people define you. The self-help industry is the latest incarnation of this tradition, in that it promises you that you can be whatever and whoever you want to be if you just attend one more motivational seminar, watch one more inspirational DVD, and read one more self-help book. You can change your identity as easily as changing your socks. I don't know. I don't have many positive thoughts about the power of positive thinking or the efficacy of self-help. I don't think people really change that much. I may start or stop a habit or two, but I'm essentially the same person I've always been. And as I get older, I notice I don't advocate as much as I used to for self-improvement. Instead, I am more and more a proponent for self-acceptance. I'd like to sponsor an anti-motivational seminar. If I did, here are some of the catchphrases I would use. Number one, think sad thoughts. There's plenty of misery in the world and in your life, and no amount of positive thinking is going to change it. Trying to remain positive during the worst times in your life is exhausting. And smiling in the face of misery looks silly. It's the face of denial. When life sucks, feel sad, angry, afraid, desperate, or whatever else you feel, because it's perfectly legitimate. When life hands you lemons, drink lemonade, mixed with vodka. Number two, be pessimistic. You'll seldom be disappointed and sometimes pleasantly surprised. Thinking negatively is easier and comes more naturally to us. If it didn't, our ancestors would not have survived. Pessimism is our built-in evolutionary trait that keeps us vigilant to threats. The longest living people are distinguishable by their pessimistic outlook. Number three, don't try to discover your personal power. You don't have nearly as much power as you think you do. No matter how much self-confidence you muster, you can't have it all and you can't do it all. Time is limited and so are you. Most of what happens in life is way beyond our control. You'll be a lot happier if you let go of your illusion of control and just enjoy the ride. Number four, stop expressing and asserting yourself. Instead, try shutting up and listening. You'll learn a lot more by listening than talking, and you'll be a lot healthier. Research shows that people who interrupt others are 3 times more likely to die of a heart attack. I can guarantee you that's true research too. Number 5, bottle up your anger. Contrary to the popular idea that letting it all out is healthy, research shows that venting your hostility makes you angrier and weakens your immune system. Also, no one wants to be around a jerk. Number 6, give up. Being strong is not always about relentlessly pushing forward to overcome some obstacle. Some obstacles in life are insurmountable, and persevering can be gloriously stupid. Being strong can also mean knowing when to give up and move on. The challenge is to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Number 7, don't expect what goes around to come around. Life is not fair. Sometimes good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. Being nice guarantees nothing. If you're going to be nice, do so because it's the right thing to do, not because you're expecting to be rewarded. You'll be sorely disappointed. Sometimes things don't balance out or work out for the best. Sometimes it's not always good. Number 8, don't get in touch with your inner child. Instead, try getting in touch with your outer adult. You're not a child anymore, so grow up and act your age. Why would you want to act like an infant anyway? They're whiny, demanding narcissists. We already have too many irresponsible people in our world, including one who lives in the White House. Number 9, stop trying to live up to your full potential. You probably don't have any more potential than you're showing right now. Instead of trying to be more than you are, or still worse, different than you are, try doing your best with the talents that you have. My beef with motivational speakers and self-help books is that by focusing on self-improvement, they imply that something is wrong with you. They are secular versions of that old-time religion that said that we're born in original sin, that we're defective at our core, and that we need fixing, we need saving, and that they're the ones who can save us if we just keep those contributions coming, brothers and sisters. Well, I'm cynical enough to believe that the self-help industry wants to keep us focused on our faults and weaknesses so that we'll keep feeling inadequate and keep buying their books and DVDs and attending their seminars. Well, Rudy, I ain't going to your seminar. I don't think I'm all that bad, just the way I am. Amen. And now, strengthened by the love of this community, reassured by a common vision, grateful for the opportunity to serve, and blessed by the gifts of friendship, may we go, sustained and nourished by this time together, back into our individual lives and into the world in which we live. Go in peace.